Hello? Hello, everyone. Good morning. We are so glad that you're all here today. While you're all getting settled in and enjoying your breakfast, we want to direct your attention to the screens for a short video.
A race car in the dark outlined with LED lights. The words, "This is an autonomous race car." The words, "No headlights, no track lights, no driver, 100 miles per hour." Words, "The race car is run by algorithms."
This technology is not vision-based. It doesn't matter really if we're running pitch black.
The car races around a track. The words, "No light is needed for the car to run."
It's driving based on laser scanners and GPS sensors, so it does not need any lighting around.
The words, "Team Toom monitors trackside."
The circuit when it's dark to prove that we really don't need any light to run.
The words, "The software makes all the decisions." The race car pulls into the pits.
Yes. We just ran about 100 miles an hour at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It was fully autonomous. The car decided where to go, how to go, completely on its own. A human driver could not go right now. This opens us completely new possibilities for future racing.
A logo, Autonomous Challenge at CES, January 7th, 2022. What would an autonomous vehicle mean to you? Carl Lewis, Bosma employee.
To me and my family, self-driving cars are something that we can't wait to become a reality. It'll save me thousands of dollars a year in transportation costs and thousands of hours in waiting around for rides between public transit and things like services like Lyft.
Kalia Ferguson, Bosma production employee.
I think it's safe to say that everyone wants to live the American dream. And whether that matches my vision of the American dream or, it's different. But transportation is a big issue in my vision. And one of the scenarios I caught myself in a few years ago was I lived in Westfield, so my kids could grow up in the neighborhood that I envisioned and go to the schools that I envisioned. Well, I was paying $1,200 a month just to get back and forth to work because I worked here at Bosman and lived in Westfield. As a parent, I had to make the hard decision to move closer, and so I had to make the decision whether it was important enough for me to save a college fund for my kids and have them grow up in what I didn't envision for them so they could start off better as an adult, or do I want to stay in the predicament that I was in with better schools but financially struggling? And I don't think that is okay. I don't think that we should have to sacrifice one for another. I think everybody should have the opportunities to reach their American dream vision and make that a reality. And I think we can do that with autonomous driving. I think that I wouldn't have had to make that sacrifice if autonomous driving was around at that time. And I'm just so excited for the new technology to come out, and excited where that's going to take my life and my family's lives and the lives of other blind individuals.
Rebecca Blackburn,
The idea of having an
production
autonomous
employee.
car definitely gives us the same opportunities as our sighted peers have. Just like sighted folks are able to just take themselves wherever they need, that would give us the power to change our outcome, meaning that we would be able to just go where we need to go. As far as those of us who have children, like myself, I have a son, and with him having football practice and other school events, versus having to depend on other people, like my family members, or having to wait on cabs or whatever, having the resources and the lifeline to be able to just do that on our own would be absolutely exhilarating. It would give us the freedom that we need as sighted impaired people or blind people, even disabled people, to just take ourselves wherever we need to go, and that idea absolutely could truly change our lives in infoundable ways. Like, it would be like monumental just to have that kind of technology that would give us that power and that lifeline and that resource that we need to be punctual. I don't think the sighted world really understands that that's our biggest challenge in life. When we need to have when we have a doctor's appointment and we have to miss that doctor's appointment because somebody's not available or the transportation's not available to take us there. Or my son says, Mom, I was supposed to have football practice, and unfortunately I wasn't able to provide him the transportation he needed to get there. Those things can be very discouraging. So the idea of someone coming up with technology to provide us the transportation we need to get where we need to go is monumental, and it would definitely give us the freedom we need to live the lives we want.
Raymond Montgomery,
If I
Bosma
would
Outreach
get my
Coordinator.
hands on one of these autonomous vehicles, that would definitely open up a lot of doors, and it allows me to make moves without having to rely on other individuals to get me back and forth to work, to the store, and it allows me to get some break time when I'm in the car by myself. So
Kirk Dykman, Bosma Rehabilitation
I can
Center
state
Manager.
this without any reservation, that the hardest thing for any blind or visually impaired person to do is to get from point A to point B. And, one of my most frequent modes of transportation is to use a shared ride service. Unfortunately, with what has transpired with the pandemic and COVID-related issues, is the number of drivers, thus the number of opportunities to catch a frequent ride has diminished. In addition, anytime there's inclement weather, the number of possibilities also drops like a rock, so it makes it even harder to get a ride. So having an autonomous vehicle fleet available would be awesome, because you wouldn't be constrained by either one of those problems about not going out in inclement weather, or also having drivers that might be a little skittish about picking up people during a pandemic. So I'm very excited about it.
Good morning. I am Emily Canis. I was the 2021 Bosma Employee of the Year. I was also the National Industries for the Blind 2021 National Employee of the Year. I work in the Bosma Bistro and on the production line. On behalf of Bosma Enterprises and the Bosma Visionary Opportunities Foundation, I would like to welcome you to the 2022 Thomas C. Hasbrook Award Breakfast.
Well, welcome everybody. My name is Stacy. I work here in Indianapolis at WIBC Radio, and Bosma Enterprises has invited me to MC many of their events, and I'm so proud and honored to do that because I believe so much in what they do. This is going to be a wonderful event. We have an incredible panel today, and we also have award winners' stories that I know will inspire each and every one of you. But also keep in mind today that we're here to raise money for Bosma Visionary Opportunities Foundation. Your donations go directly to creating opportunities for our fellow Hoosiers experiencing vision loss by providing critical funds to support the programs of the Bosma Center for Visionary Solutions. Today, nationally, people who are blind face a 70% unemployment rate. I wish I could say that that number is so high because of the pandemic, but I just can't. This is an unemployment rate even before the pandemic hit. You're going to have an opportunity for each and every one of you to give later on in the program. We're here today to talk about autonomous vehicle technology, which is amazing, and we're doing it right here in the racing capital of the world, Speedway, Indiana. And we are very honored to have a very special guest with us today, former IndyCar driver, race team owner, entrepreneur, and she still grabs attention wherever she goes. Please welcome Sarah Fisher.
Good morning, everybody. It's refreshing to get up and go somewhere and contribute to something without having to drop my kids off at school first. All kidding, my husband, I set that up, thank God. He's in town, not racing somewhere. Welcome to Speedway, Indiana. This has been such a wonderful development on Main Street. It used to be, gravel and some maybe not so beautiful buildings like the Dallara one here that we're sitting in today. And to be a part of the development with my partner Wink Hartman on the race team shop that you see just over there to the north of Dallara, and then to be 2 doors down at the go-kart track that my husband and I built. We are definitely ingrained in Speedway, Indiana, and we are so supportive of having a community surrounding the greatest racetrack in the world, in my opinion. This is just a wonderful opportunity to share our town and what it does alongside of the racing industry. For me, having a background in racing and loving math and science, and to see autonomous vehicles coming down the straightaway at IMS is just unbelievable. There was one time when I was in the state science fair in 8th grade and just loved everything about math and science and how that could help me in racing. And then to see some of the things that those folks do who contribute to that, and to see how it affects other folks is just very, very, very cool. So I hope you can all get your paddles up today and help us create a great future for some of these folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I wish you were still racing. I really do. I really, really do. Thank you so much for coming out today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Bosma's president and CEO, Jeff Mittman.
Good to see you. Good morning, everyone. I'll tell you what, I'm really excited. I'm really, really, really excited. I know I've heard some complaints about the time of breakfast being 7 a.m. and having to get up and get over here, but you know what? I'm still excited. I really appreciate everyone being here. Sarah, thank you so much for coming by and helping us out. We appreciate you. Stacy, thank you. I want to start off today. Bosma Enterprises doesn't exist without a lot of people doing a lot of things and doing a lot of work. So I want to start this morning by recognizing our board members of both the enterprise and our Bosman Visionary Opportunities Foundation. So if you're a board member in here, could you please stand up to be recognized? And I want to pay some special recognition to our chairman here today. We have Kevin Mandrell, our chairman of Bosma Enterprises. Kevin, thank you. And also Brian Bosman, the chairman of our Bosman Visionary Opportunities Foundation. Brian, thank you so much for being here. Bosma's been around for about 107 years, and we really have 3 parts to the enterprises. We have Bosma Enterprises, which is our main function is to employ people who are blind or visually impaired. At Bosma, we have approximately 200 employees with people who are blind or visually impaired all throughout the organization, all the way from some of our temporary workers up to me as the president and CEO. And we do a wonderful, wonderful job. I know Terry said this morning that we have an unemployment rate nationally of 70%. Here in Indiana, it's about 60%, a little bit better, but that's still atrocious. And we work hard at fighting that by giving people that opportunity to gain independence through employment. The second piece of that is our Visionary Center of Excellence over at Woodland, where we are the only comprehensive blind rehabilitation program in the state of Indiana. We serve all 92 counties with either residential rehabilitation there at our center, blind rehabilitation where they come in for 3 to 4 months to learn how to do things, gain that independence like orientation and mobility, how to travel by yourself, how to use a computer. We teach people that to allow them to gain that independence. We also have an itinerant rehab teacher team that goes out into all 92 counties in the state of Indiana to assist people as they age in their home and as they try to gain independence and remain independent in their home. And we also have an employment services team that goes out and they find people who are blind or visually impaired, just like myself, jobs all throughout central Indiana. And it's absolutely wonderful to see somebody who maybe lost their vision later in life, who thought they didn't have that opportunity, who thought they didn't have that ability to work anymore, to gain that independence again, to regain that. To see that's absolutely incredible. And we also have our Bosma Visionary Opportunities Foundation, where we raise money to support those programs. And we have new leadership at the foundation now. We have a brand new executive director of the foundation, and this is his first event. This is his coming out party right here, out in the public. Brandon Wells is our new executive director. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to Brandon. Brandon, come on up. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So great to see so many wonderful faces here for my first event. No pressure. Thanks for the introduction, Jeff. It is an absolute honor and a privilege to be a part of this organization. And my first 3 weeks have been an amazing experience, and this is really the icing on the cake. The Bosma Visionary Opportunities Foundation is the philanthropic fundraising arm of Bosma. As Jeff said, your support is vital not only to the success of our organization, but more importantly, the clients we serve. Because of our sponsors and donors' generosity, we are able to offer our programs at little to no cost. This is so important to our clients. Imagine losing your vision. How would you continue your life? How would you work? You would likely see hope slipping away. And the last thing you need to think about is how you would pay to learn to live your life again. Last year, we served over 800 Hoosiers with vision loss. That is more than 800 lives changed because of your generosity. And I would like to thank our sponsors this year. Today's event is presented by Ansel and Aginex. Today's Employee of the Year Award is sponsored by Direct Employers Association and Frost Brown Todd. Today's panel is sponsored by PNC Bank, LM Henderson, and Allison Transmission. And the Employee of the Month is sponsored by Indigo. Thank you to our sponsors who have helped make this event possible.
Thank you, Brandon, and thank you again to our sponsors, and also thank you to the Dallara IndyCar Factory for graciously hosting us today. Is this who's first timers here at the Dallara Factory? It's pretty spectacular. I hope you've had an opportunity to kind of mosey around and take a look at everything. We are going to move to today's panel discussion, and we are gathered here at one of the main hubs of autonomous racing. The Dallara IndyCar Factory actually created the cars used in the Autonomous Challenge last October at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. So right now, I'd like to invite our panelists to make their way to the stage. For everyone else, please turn your attention to the screens. We have a brief video to show you about the event that took place just up the street at IMS.
Start your software and crank your engines.
Go, baby, go. She's out.
Lots of crew working on computers and cars driving around the track.
Ready to go.
Car 4 is in motion.
Race light switch. Okay, speed heading, please.
Car spinning out of control. Car hitting the inside wall.
We obviously hit a failure mode that we weren't expecting.
A car being towed into the pits.
Engineering and a part of like pushing forward is realizing that there's going to be mistakes made along the way.
team coming in at 135.944 miles per hour. That is a new record.
I have your $1 million check.
You can only go faster from here, so I'll see you at the next race.
A logo, Indy Autonomous Challenge.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Racing has led to many technologies and many technological breakthroughs that have made their way to our own cars. And this could be happening right before our eyes with autonomous racing. Today we continue the advancement of autonomous technology with this discussion. Our hope is that this conversation spurs others to think about how this could benefit people with disabilities. So now I would like to introduce our panelists. Dr. Jing Zhu holds a PhD in industrial engineering and worked as a postdoctoral research fellow at the Shepens Eye Research Institute of Mass Eye and Ear Department of Ophthalmology, Harvard Medical School. Her current research focuses on investigating the impact of vision loss on driving and exploring and evaluating new driver assistance technologies and self-driving car accessibility features to support safe mobility for road users who are blind or visually impaired. Among her many research projects, Dr. Zhu has studied Tesla operation by a driver with vision impairment, perceived needs and preferences for advanced driver assistance systems by drivers with and without age-related macular degeneration, and use of a tactile hazard warning device for drivers with central vision loss. Dr. Jing Zhu is on our panel today. We also have Clayton Nicholas, who has more than 30 years of experience in engineering and leadership roles ranging from product design, operations, plant management, product line assembly, and advanced engineering. While at Delphi Electronics, which is now Aptiv, he led a global team focusing on advancing driver assistance systems, known as ADAS, and autonomous vehicle system components. He has received 4 patents, and in his work with TASI, leads the University Industry Consortium with the mission to reduce fatal crashes via ADAS and autonomous vehicle systems. He also is director of the newly created Initiative for Electrified and Autonomous Mobility University Center at IUPUI, whose mission is to help advance Indiana's competitiveness and economic development by focusing on the equitable deployment of electrified and autonomous transportation systems. Clayton Nicholas is with us today. And then James Michaels. James Michaels is a licensed clinical social worker who serves as the Vice President of Program Services at Bosma. Now, prior to his work at Bosma, he worked for a number of organizations that serve people who are deaf or blind. He worked in residential services at the Indiana School for the Deaf, and then took a position as the Psychiatric Social Services Specialist at the Indiana School for the Blind. Just before joining Bosma Enterprises, he spent 3 years at the state-run Bosma Rehabilitation Center as its counselor. In addition, he volunteers as the chair of the Indiana Canine Assistance Network and is also a former chair of the State of Indiana's Rehabilitation Commission, as well as the Indianapolis Mayor's Advisory Council on Disability. That is James Michaels, who's also an incredible musician. I think now this microphone works. Now we're going to do some questioning. All right, panel, thanks for being here today. We're glad to see you all. Mr. Nicholas, let's start with you. Can you give us a brief state of autonomous vehicle technology and what sort of things are happening right here in Indianapolis and beyond?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. And thanks for being here. What a great event.
Yeah.
And also, I do like breakfast.
Me too. Any time of the day.
So everyone's already familiar with, the Society of Automotive Engineers has 5 levels of autonomy. Okay, so what I'm going to focus on is that 5th level, because that's really the autonomy level. That's driverless. The other 4 levels are more driver assist levels, but the 5th level says no steering wheel in the vehicle, totally driverless vehicle. So that's where the world is moving today. We're still a ways out from that, okay, for several reasons. Part of it is because if you think about with Indiana, it's the weather, it's the ice and snow, of being able to get an autonomous vehicle to do that on its own. It's because of vulnerable road users. It's because of pedestrians, because of bicyclists. So those are still obstacles to a full driverless vehicle today. However, from a standpoint of areas for freight, where you have a dedicated road where you can go out there are trials going on now, especially in the Southwest, where again, no weather issues, where you can drive a vehicle. Why it's important also, I'll add to Indiana, is if you think about it, Indiana is a day's drive from 80% of the population in the US. So logistics and transportation is really important to our state. So it's really going to be important for us to be in the cutting edge and stay on the cutting edge of these technologies, not only for individuals, but also just for the economy that we have here. So again, there's a lot of research going on, university research. I'll point out my former employer of Aptiv is that they've been looking at autonomous vehicles for the past 20 years. And in fact, what I'll say is that here in Indiana, one of the first production radar that was put on a production vehicle was developed up in Kokomo, Indiana, and was developed by Aptiv. And so I always say that because if you have any colleagues from Bosch, they'll always try to tell you they were first, but I'm telling you, it was Aptiv that was first. So that technology is still going on, and they're still in Carmel, and they're still doing a lot of work in autonomous vehicle work, and so that's an area that here's Indianapolis. I'll also point out that ESN that put on the autonomous race, the other thing they did is they did they brought in Toyota Mobility, and they brought in May Mobility, and they had an autonomous shuttle running around campus.
Wow.
Okay, so you could have taken a ride in an autonomous vehicle around our campus. Now, it had a safety driver there. And I'll also add that the one thing that is the other hindrance to autonomous vehicles on the road?
Potholes. Was it potholes? Was that the answer? No. Oh. Okay.
It's you and I, right? And so when you talk to the safety drivers that were in autonomous vehicles, they got more road rage because that autonomous vehicle followed the road. It did the speed limit. It did all the things necessary.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. So things are moving along, and and we're doing some really good things here.
You know, I also wonder about the cost of an autonomous vehicle, and I'm not sure that you can actually tell us about that at the moment, but I wonder how much more it's going to cost than just your average cost of a vehicle that is not autonomous.
So it's a great question, and I'll answer it here a bit, but one of the things I always told the engineers in my group is that there's no law of physics that says new technology has to cost more.
Yeah.
And if you really do a nice universal design, you can really get a lot of volume, and you can really make sure that you're covering everyone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Dr. Zeus, kind of a similar question. What you're seeing in autonomous technology, and how are those impacting people, particularly those with vision loss?
I think I see the autonomous technology as a new solution for the future transportation. And for the general public like us, this could be a new convenience. But for people who have vision loss, actually this can save a lot of struggling and also open a lot of doors to their life. So we have heard a lot of, in our intro videos, we heard people actually who are blind have give a lot of hope to the future of these technologies. But today I want to add a point is, at the moment we have a lot of drivers who have impaired vision that they are permitted to drive on the road. And many of them, some of them hold the restricted license and with very limited driving, and many of them have to restrict themselves. I want to share one of my research participants has shared with me. Before I go to see you, I have to make a 30 minutes plan, and for the 15 minutes trip, the reason is he has to really carefully plan a driving route without facing directly sunlight, and even the driving routes include most just right turns or protected left turns. The reason is bright sunlight is really hurt his eyes, and also because of macular degeneration, and negotiating with other traffic and pedestrians when making left turns is not easy, and of course he really want to be safe. So I want to say, for all the people actually who are struggling with driving because of impaired vision, and of course for people who are not able to drive because of their blindness or visually impaired, and the use of those type of autonomous technology really allows them to maintain mobility and life independence. And this probably will give them a lot of opportunities, for example, like allow them to participate more fully in the society and also reduce the social exclusion and access to the health care more easily, or access to trainings, education more easily, and even maintain or get the new opportunities for employment and generally improve their quality of life.
Thank you, Dr. Zhu. James Michaels, what kind of an impact would autonomous vehicle technology have for someone who is blind, visually impaired, from your perspective, from someone who's had vision loss?
Thank you, Terry, and thank you to everyone for being here today to support the company that I love, Bosma Enterprises. You know, when you think about the word, the definition of autonomous, I was looking that up, and it said self-governing, independent. Those words came out, and I think about independence. Creating independence for people who have disabilities, for people who have to rely on others to be able to get from point A to point B. Yesterday, well, it was Monday, I was in a group with 10 clients who were visually impaired, and I asked them, I said, what do you miss most about being able to see? And two things came up. And one was from a young mother who said, I miss being able to see my kids' faces. And as a father, I so empathize with that. And then everybody in the room said, I miss being able to drive. The freedom of being able to go where I need to go, when I want to go to the store. If my kid's sick at school and the nurse calls, thinking about how can I get them, and have to worry about those things. So really, it's just the independence is the main thing about it. Being able to feel like you can do what you want, what you need to do, when you want to, without having to think about all these other things that come up along with getting from location to location. Those of you who got invited today to come to the Hasbrook breakfast, you know, if you're not visually impaired, you didn't have to really think too much about it. It was, oh, I can go. Yeah, sure, no problem. For somebody who's blind, they say, okay, we want you to come to the Hasbrook. We think about, okay, how am I going to get there too? Can I catch a ride with somebody? Do I need to catch Uber, Lyft, a cab, public transportation? How am I going to do that? How much time do I have to give myself? So there's so many more factors that come along with it. And the idea of having autonomous driving technology to enhance the ability to do things independently, it's a game changer.
Thank you, James. Mr. Nicholas, you have said that these technologies have the potential to disrupt the status quo, altering how people live and work. And tell us about that. Explain it a little bit.
Sure. A couple of ways. I think that, again, as I go back to freight, and again, think about how much longer truck drivers will be able to drive. And so they'll be able to have a lot longer roads. We don't have to worry about the driver shortages that we have today. But then again, thinking about people. And so one of the things I relate to some of my the panelists earlier was that when we initially were working on autonomous vehicle technologies, one of the things we did is that we brought in a lady on our team, and she had a disability. And she explained to us, she said, you know, when you engineers think about universal design, you think about someone that's maybe 5 foot to 6'5" and that. She said, that's not universal design. She said, when you think about from the standpoint of how you think about a person with a disability, you think about all the things we can't do. What we think about is, look at all the roadblocks you put out in front of us. And I'll tell you, it really changed the perspective on how we started thinking about it. So we then started taking a look, and that's why we started this new center to say, okay, so now, if that's the case, how do we ensure, and we have time, to make sure that we're going to find the ethics, do the equitable deployment of these systems, and not wait till they're deployed and then start thinking about it. You know, it's almost like if you think about, I don't know how it happened in your areas to where, you know, one day I came to campus and all of a sudden scooters were on the electric scooters were down. Then we start thinking about, okay, wait a minute, how are we going to regulate it? How are we going to do all these things? We have time now that autonomous vehicles are coming in to start looking at what are the things. Regulations aren't bad. How do we regulate? How do we ensure that we're doing things? How do we teach engineers to do real universal design and really make it available to everyone? There's still some issues with the first and last mile that have to be, you know, addressed, but still, there are solutions that can be that we can work and really make lives better, including, again, with elderly in rural areas, all the things that are really important.
You know, and we do want to talk about the elderly, and let's do that with Dr. Zhu. Much of your research centers around seniors who have vision loss, and using technology can really help extend how long a person may be able to drive as they age. And I was telling you the other day, I have an 84-year-old neighbor who has lost her vision, and she's alone. Her husband died a year ago, and she obviously is really trying to navigate what her life looks like right now, and we're trying, want her to stay as independent as long as she possibly can. So talk a little bit about seniors and how this will help them as well.
Yeah, because as we grow older and the change of our eyesight and the many common age-related eye disorders and other functional declines really will change how we drive. So before we get to the level 5 fully autonomous vehicle or self-driving cars, and for a very long time, and we still have to stay with manual driving, and manual driving with a lot of advanced driver assistance systems, like Clayton mentioned earlier. So this like a forward collision warning and blind spot warning and lane departure warning. I believe many of your cars maybe already have those type of features. Those features has a lot of great potential actually for support people who are visually impaired. But we are at the very beginning to understand how these technologies can support this specific driving population. Yeah, so this is one reason, actually, one of my studies in the last year, we talked with more than 100 older drivers who have macular degeneration and other type of central vision loss, trying to identify the user perceptions and their challenges and experience and when using the current technologies. Our data actually show strong evidence that people who use more of the current systems have much less self-imposed driving restrictions. One example is one of my participants who have 180 vision, which is close to legally blind. He drove a Tesla. And after being follow up him about 1 year, it's really amazing to see how he actually totally changed his driving habit and also basically develop new driving strategies, maximizing his currently useful vision and low vision by optical telescope glasses, and also trying to co-drive with all the assistant and automation features in the Tesla and choose different features in different road situations. So it's really amazing to see how he changed from the manual driving to actually carefully, cautiously monitoring the road and granting the permission to the car to do the maneuver changes. So this really allows him to be able to drive at night again and drive long distance. And he was even able to do the 1,000 miles during the pandemic to visit the family in different states. So I think this is an example actually to show us how the current assistant and automation technology can support our drivers who have the vision impaired, and also including older drivers who have declined vision or impaired vision, to let them drive more confidently, and may let them drive safer for a longer time in future.
Thank you very much. This final question is really for all three of you, and so we'll start here. This question being, what are some considerations some should manufacturers, wait a minute, let me do this again. What are some considerations manufacturers and researchers think about as this technology advances? What should they be thinking about? James, we'll start with you from your perspective as someone who is blind, and then Clayton, and then Dr. Zhu from your industry perspective. So we'll start with you, James.
Yeah, and Clay did touch on it a little bit, is just thinking about accessibility out of the box. Right away, keeping accessibility in mind. It's like universal design when you're thinking about creating a building, or if you think about making the halls wide enough for a wheelchair, or the doorways wide enough for a wheelchair, it's much easier in the beginning as opposed to having to come in and retrofit. Same thing with technology, software. if the people who create those things thinking about how can we make this accessible right from the beginning, it makes life so much easier. And one thing I think about too is when you're looking at this technology, maybe there's some touch screens, things like that. It'd be so much more helpful if you think about how can we make this artificial intelligence where the person can speak to the car and tell it to do things, kind of like Siri or our Echo Dots. So
to actually talk, to ask the question of the car.
Ask the question.
Rather than a touch screen. You're saying?
Yes.
And then Clayton?
Yeah, I think again, it's all in the same thing. Is that again that having a good universal design then makes it accessible to a lot more people. And you know, I think that it gives them a better perspective, but it also says that now you should start diversifying your teams and start adding other individuals that can help you do that. So, you know, you can't do that alone. The thing that really was the light that turned on for us is that we invited someone that had a disability on our team, and they were able to help us understand. So I would say the same thing is that they'll have to start doing that as well and make sure that they get those perspectives.
Dr. Zhu?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think we definitely should thinking of how we can make the interface and the self-driving cars which can satisfy the unique situational awareness and for the blind community. For example, they should know where they are and when the car stops, what is going on. And also we should support them to be precisely actually understand where they are, their current location during the whole riding experience and after being dropped off. I kind of feel like this type of technology, I think these are some kind of considerations we should start thinking about at this moment, because any kind of afterwards, adaptation or special models will be very high, probably will be increase the price for the BVI community.
Finally, I do have one more question. One more question. As we move towards this future, we have a room full of very influential people. What considerations should we, the public, have? Well, we'll start with James.
Yeah, I would just say is support this support this from a legislative standpoint if possible. However we can make it happen, because it's a win-win. There's a study from the Ruderman Family Foundation that said approximately 2 million people with disabilities could be employed if transportation was better. So 2 million people with disabilities being employed, that's a win-win, creating, taxpayers opposed to tax recipients. So.
Yeah. And you next, Mr. Nicholas. I'm sorry.
No problem.
And then I got another one for you. You go ahead. You go next.
I think that we should start thinking about this as an opportunity to wipe the slate clean. And I think that we're going to start thinking about vehicles as means of transportation as opposed to your identity. And that way, then now you start thinking about it more and saying that, look, it's really not. And I got to tell you is that, I don't know about yours, but my kids are starting to think that way already. They just don't value a car like it did when I was growing up. So I think that's really going to help because it opens up, and maybe it's not car ownership anymore, it's as important.
Yeah. Dr. Zhu.
Okay, as a researcher, I would definitely say participate in research and share your experience and opinions to scientists, and also support research and give the scientists opportunity really study and research on this very interesting and also meaningful topic. And another thing I want to say is really just spread out your word, and also when you can, and speak for the BVI community and the other under-considered community, because for the future, actually everyone should be included in the future of transportation.
It's really exciting to think about that, about what an autonomous vehicle and thinking about those on the roads. You mentioned trucks. I've heard that they're even testing semis, to be, and that makes me a little nervous. I'm not going to lie about that. To see an autonomous, nobody driving a semi down the roadway. But it's the future, and it's
that or an 18-year-old.
It's very Jetsons-like to think about this happening, but realistically, how soon could it be? We see them on the race, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We see this, what's happening now with race cars. how realistically, how soon could we see something like this?
So I think that today, and again, is if you had a geofence lane, and I'll use the example, and I'll talk about Allison Transmission that's not far from here because they just had a ribbon cutting of their new innovation hall. But if you think about the electrification piece of it, they have an electrified chassis of a vehicle right now. So if they added sensors to that vehicle, okay, and think about also Indigo's red line and purple line.
Right.
They're geofence lanes. You could today take an autonomous vehicle and put it on that lane because, right, the things I mentioned of vulnerable road users aren't there. You don't get the us on that road.
Yeah.
So if you have a geofence lane, you could do that. The biggest thing would be the weather. And so that's why they do that more in the Southwest where they have those long highways and the weather doesn't change. So yeah, it can get close to being done now with some of the systems that we have.
It's amazing. All right, I'm done. We've asked a lot of questions. Thank you all to our panelists. Thank you. They're amazing. Our panelists today, incredible insight on autonomous vehicle technology. Transportation is truly a great barrier to employment and other aspects of life for people who are blind. And I hope one day soon this technology can be a great equalizer in reaching Bosma's vision of equality for all people who are blind. They're going to make their way off the stage as they are. And now I would like to ask Brandon and Jeff to return to the stage. We've got awards to give away, so let's get to that right now. Brandon and Jeff Mittman.
Thank you again, Terry, and thank you to our wonderful panelists. That's just such a mind-blowing thing for me to hear as a non-engineer, right? So I appreciate that you all are doing that type of work. It is my pleasure to recognize several groups and individuals who have donated their time, talent, and treasure to making our community a better place to live and work, not only for people who are blind, but for everyone as a whole. Because at Bosma, we truly believe that when we all work together, our community is better for everyone. Our first award is our Volunteer of the Year. And I would like to invite Lisa Pace, Bosma's Vice President of External Affairs, to join Jeff on stage. She nominated this year's winner. Degree of Honor has been a group of regular volunteers at Bosma for nearly 4 years. Joining us today are Jody Francoeur, Christy Mittman, Margie Maynard, and Georgette Winkle, all members of the group. They have assisted Bosma in a variety of ways. Some of the activities they have helped with include preparing for multiple Bosma Visionary Opportunities Foundation fundraising events, like this one here, employee events, and assisting with mailings. This team of service-minded individuals averaged 200 volunteer hours per year. However, in the fiscal year ending 2021, they served over 500 hours to assist with projects during the pandemic. The work they did, like making Valentines for our site essential employees, boosted morale and increased organizational capacity. In addition to providing their time and talents, they give of their treasure, giving generously to the foundation year after year. Thank you, Degree of Honor volunteers. Please welcome Margie Maynard, the President of Degree of Honor, to accept the award. Our next award is our Legislator of the Year. Bosma's President and CEO wrote this nomination. Representative Doug Miller became a friend of Bosma several years ago. As a lifelong Indiana resident, he is committed to creating opportunities for Hoosiers. While most of his work centers on his constituents in House District 48, which is in and around Elkhart County, he is also passionate about opportunities for all, including people who have disabilities statewide. That is why it should be no surprise that he has assisted Bosma in working on legislation to improve awareness of beacon positioning systems like Blind Square in Indiana buildings. These systems provide voice cues through a phone app that allows people who are blind to navigate unfamiliar places independently. Representative Miller has also worked hard to ensure there are continued employment opportunities through working to strengthen the state youth program. The Ability Indiana program leverages the products and services the state of Indiana buys anyway and directs some of those purchases to nonprofits like Bosma to create employment. He has been committed every step of the way to this effort. Whether it is authoring legislation, testifying at a hearing in support of an issue important to people with disabilities, or providing a text of encouragement, Representative Doug Miller is the true definition of a person with a servant's heart. Please join me in welcoming Representative Miller. Our next award is for our Community Partner of the Year. I would like to invite Christy Russell, Bosma's Employment Services Manager and nominator of this year's award. We are honored to recognize Coaster Stone. This company has demonstrated a commitment to creating employment opportunities for our clients. They offered paid work experiences and hired a client in November. In her nomination, Christy remarked, "We need more business owners like David Glenn to learn from his mindset and be willing to provide opportunities instead of more barriers." David said, "I'm not doing anything special. I'm just doing what's right. We all deserve an opportunity." Please welcome David Glenn, President of Coaster Stone, sorry. Our next award is our Employee of the Year. I would like to welcome Brian Petrates, Bosma's Director of Manufacturing, to the stage to recognize our employees.
Well, it's my great honor to be able to recognize not only our Employee of the Year, but our Employee of the Months. And at Bosma, being named as an Employee of the Month is quite an honor, namely because it is peer nominated. What better way to be recognized than by your peers? Because of COVID last year, we did not have a large gathering, and so therefore we did not get to recognize our 2020 Employees of the Month. So at this time, I'd like to ask all 2020 Employees of the Month to please stand for recognition. Again, congratulations. At this time, I'd like to direct your attention to the video boards, and we will meet the 2021 Employees of the Month.
2021 Employees of the Month. Jerry Thomas Anthony, October 2020. Belinda Jones, November 2020. Steve Anderson, December 2020. Jonathan Blair, January 2021. Chris Light, February 2021. Bianca Mills, March 2021. Megan Martin, April 2021. Travis Pop, May 2021. Kyle Lewis, June 2021. Steve Davis, July 2021. Keisha Jones McFadden, August 2021. Molly Newland, September 2021. Jennifer Kenny, October 2021. Rich Brown, November 2021. Congratulations, 2021 Employees of the Month.
At this time, I'd like to introduce our 2021 Employee of the Year, Steve Anderson. Steve is Steve is an amazing employee. He's quiet, but yet he is there every day working as hard as he possibly can to make sure that the production lines run as efficiently and as smooth as they possibly can. Steve allows for production employees to be able to pack and concentrate on productivity items, support employees to be able to support, and production supervisors to be able to lead. Every production line needs somebody like Steve, and it's my great honor, and as voted on by his peers, to recognize Steve Anderson as our 2021 Bosma Enterprises Employee of the Year. Congratulations, Steve.
Let's give one more round of applause to these incredible Bosma employees. Amazing stuff, guys. And finally, I have the honor of presenting this year's Thomas C. Hasbrook Award. This award is named for Thomas C. Hasbrook, who was blinded in World War II and returned to the States and continued to serve. He was a deputy mayor and served on various nonprofit boards, including Bosma, and as president of the Blinded Veterans Association. Today, we're honored to have several of Mr. Hasbrook's family here with us. Would you please stand to be recognized, Hasbrook family? Thank you for being here with us today. This year's Thomas C. Hasbrook Award winner has been a lifelong servant, both as a soldier and as an advocate. He served as an Army medic and in the National Guard as a physician's assistant. In total, he served over 2 decades, serving his community as a PA. In 2003, he received his PhD in political science and began his public advocacy career. His work has resulted in legislation to improve blinded veterans' access to rehabilitation programs, scholarships for VA mobility and orientation students, and elimination of co-payments for blinded veterans, beneficiary travel, adaptive housing grants for disabled veterans, and so much more. Most recently, he served as the national president of the Blinded Veterans Association. While in this position, he advocated on Capitol Hill in support of legislation that saved many jobs for people who are blind, including here at Bosma, and the jobs of thousands of disabled veterans employed by Ability One agencies like Bosma across the country. Please direct your attention to the video screens, where we have a brief video of this year's award winner's testimony to Congress.
Last thing on the agenda real quick is BVA supports HR 4920, which only grandfathers existing Ability One programs that employ, a lot of them employ blind and disabled veterans. I started up here in 2001, so I guess I've been around a little while. And the unemployment rate when I walked into Washington, D.C. with blind veterans was 45% unemployment rate for blind veterans in this country. Today, the unemployment rate is 45%. You think of all the legislation that's come before this committee and passed to try to help create jobs for all veterans, and we today still have the highest unemployment rate. And so 4920, despite the false rumors and accusations, is going to help a percentage of those veterans maintain their jobs. The total VA's contracting budget, if anybody is interested in the actual facts, is $27 billion. The Ability One programs that would be grandfathered, no new ones would be able to apply, is $200 million. So unless there's some miracle here today where someone's going to come forth with proposed legislation that would fix that unemployment rate, I would love to talk with that person. Thank you very much for inviting us to testify. I'll answer any questions you have.
It is my pleasure to welcome to the stage this year's Thomas C. Hasbrook Award winner, Thomas Zampiri.
You will be able to hear from Tom and all of the other winners from today's breakfast on our social media page in the coming days, so be sure to check that out. Now, we have made it no secret today that we need your help to provide programs and services to Hoosiers who so desperately need them. And I want to give you an opportunity to become a part of Bosma's mission by making a gift. So please direct your attention to the video screens to see the impact of Bosma on a client and an employee.
Went from normal suburban housewife, working, 2 kids, to suburban housewife, career gone, and totally blind in 10 days. There's no transplant, there's no regeneration, there's no magic pill, there's nothing that they can do. I have 2 boys, Julian, who was 10 at the time, and Jonathan, who was 12. Jonathan constantly protected me. Julian just flipped. He was embarrassed. He didn't understand.
The doctors had said she's going to be blind the rest of her life. Now I sat down by myself and just began to think, okay, what do I do now? She was the organizer of the family, and she took care of the situations like transporting the children back and forth to where they needed to go. So it was pretty traumatic on me to think about my family as a whole and how this is going to impact the family.
I mean, I'm 37 years old and I got 2 kids to raise, and boys too. Oh yeah, I had to do something. I felt like I had to prove to the world that Rhonda was still here. Hey, Weddy! Bosma really gave me the feeling of belonging, because there were other people there. From one degree to the other, we were all in the same boat.
Enter barcode.
They taught me skills and reinforced my I can do it attitude, and opened up a lot of doors.
It's been very significant how much Bosma's role has played. Life doesn't discontinue just because you become visually impaired or because you become blind.
When you embrace just life as a whole, because once you've lost something like your sight, I think you just really step out more and you want to live more. They've taught me how to focus my mind and rein in my senses to navigate the world in my blindness. I appreciate the platform and the opportunities I have here at Bosma, and I share it every day and everywhere I go.
Incredible stories. Let's be honest, as a new director, you knew it was only a matter of time before I was going to give you an opportunity to give, right? So here it is. Here's your chance to give. We are going to call out 4 donation amounts of $2,500, $1,000, $500, and $100. If you would like to make a gift, please raise your bid paddle. As one of us calls out your number, you can put it down. We have people keeping track of the numbers as we call them out, so please don't take your paddle down until we have called out your number. The first amount is $2,500. $2,500 can pay for JAWS screen reading software. This text-to-speech software reads the words on a computer screen, allowing people who are blind to use a computer to search the internet, buy from Amazon, or apply for a job. We have an anonymous donor here today that is already given at the $2,500 level today. Is there anyone out there who will match that?
Right here, $493, $445, $479.
Keep them up.
$489. Oh my gosh, this is for a $2,500 bid. Bless your hearts. $2,500 provides nearly a full summer of programming for a high school student in our student training and employment program. And that program provides paid work experience while also teaching skills like resume writing and interviewing. And what did we just see? Maybe 4 or 5 of you plus our anonymous for $2,500. Anybody else? $2,500? Bless your hearts. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to applaud.
Yes, absolutely.
Because that is fantastic.
A lot of lives changed.
Wow. Really great. Really terrific.
The next amount is $1,000. $1,000 can pay for 1 week's worth of training for a client. This includes basic living skills, assistive technology training, and orientation and mobility.
And also $1,000 can pay for an iPad and the training to use it. And this is what I've learned about for my neighbor, in fact, that is living alone. And this has been such a blessing for her to stay pretty much on her own. That $1,000 can pay for that iPad and the training to use it. These smart devices are changing the way people who are blind live and work. And and this is what's awesome, there are a lot of apps that can read and describe them, that can magnify. It really is such a blessing to have that iPad. So, yep, $1,000. Let's see your numbers.
$1,000 givers? Oh, I see several hands up. Keep them up, guys. Make sure we get all these.
Okay, 487, 231, 461. Oops, I'm sorry. You go ahead, Brenda. Go ahead.
482 and 461.
And 498.
Oh, we missed one. 483.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wait, there's another one.
Hold on.
457.
There we go.
Oh my gosh, that's like
amazing.
I'm going to go 10. There were 10 iPads there we were holding for those $1,000. Thank you, thank you. And these again are just examples, not just necessarily for an iPad, but it's what $1,000 can do. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Brendan.
Thank you. $500 to you.
Okay. This is $500 We're looking for $500 bids that can buy an accessible laptop computer. This is going to have software, and again, these are just examples, but for $500, that accessible laptop computer, getting software like Zoom Text or JAWS, which is a text-to-speech software that reads what is on the screen, allowing a person who is blind the ability to use a computer to communicate, search for a job, or spend quality time on Facebook.
Absolutely. And something that James Michaels, one of our panelists, and I talked about earlier last week was $500 can pay for a group adjustment counseling session. I can only imagine that one of the hardest parts of vision loss is the emotional impact it can have. We have a counselor on staff, and that counselor provides tools and techniques to help our clients cope with life after vision loss. So $500 can do a lot of good. Do we have any $500 give? I see 526.
Thank you.
469, 499, 442. Louise, thank you.
230 over here to your right.
230.
Yep.
Anybody else? 500.
We got 442.
Yeah, we got that one in the middle. Awesome.
That's
you
it.
guys are incredible.
Thank you
so much.
Okay. That's amazing. Okay. And now,
our final amount for the day is $100. $100 can buy a digital recorder and training on how to use it. This is such a valuable tool for note-taking, for reminders, and just having a second pair of ears with you at all times.
$100 can buy a couple of white canes. The tool allows a person who is blind to navigate their surroundings safely and confidently by detecting obstacles and elevation changes. It also alerts others to the fact that the user is blind or visually impaired. So right now, let's look for $100 bids.
$100 bids. Have anybody?
There we go. Here they come.
Let's go this way. I see 435, 137, 484, 494, 451.
Look at all of them.
Keep them up, please, guys. This is awesome. 354, 450, 485, 233, 355, 495, 528, 477, 486, 456, 464. Did I miss anybody?
467. Yeah, 467 right here next to you. One more?
527. You guys are incredible.
Oh,
this is amazing.
thank you.
I need my wife, the math teacher, here to help me keep track of this. I've already lost count.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Very, very much.
This is amazing.
That's a lot of money made in a short few minutes.
Absolutely.
Thank you very, very, very much. And we really appreciate all of you coming today and donating, of course. And it is an incredible morning to see all of you and to see your generosity. If you'd like to come and visit Bosma and take a tour, you can connect with one of the staff members. They'd love to have you come by for a visit. I promise you will be so impressed at what you see. I'd also like to come to come to one of their other incredible events, like the Bosma Visionary Golf Classic. Their Dining in the Dark is another, again, awesome event. Just let us know, and we can make sure that you have information for those events. If you haven't given, there are donation envelopes on your table, and you can certainly fill that out. Leave your gift on the table. You can mail it, or you can give it to a staffed person as well. Also, on your way out, there are dip jars. Here's a dip. I'm going to show you what a dip jar looks like. That's a dip jar. Over here to my left, the beautiful lady in red, this is a dip jar. And these are such an easy way to donate. All you have to do is dip your credit card in the jar, and you made a $50 donation to the Bosma Visionary Opportunities Foundation. Bring it over here to me. I'll dip now. I'm going to dip now. And again, this won't take any bit of your time. Of course, everything goes wrong when I try to touch technology. I'm going to go this way. No, this way. This way. See what I'm saying? It's not as quick and easy as that way. Here we, oh, no, this way. Okay, no, that way. No, that's it? It's not funny, Brian. That's not funny. Did it do it? That's it. That's all you have to do. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, listen, everybody, I hope you enjoyed the morning and the good food and the winners and all the information. Our panel, you were awesome, and so are all of you. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day. And again, thank you for being here today with us at the Hasbrook Luncheon.